How old is too old to start a comic book career? That's a question that sounds really silly, but that I get all the time. And I have like people who are like young and old and in the middle and everywhere across the board asking me the question. So I guess there's no an easy answer to that, but we're going to try anyway. My name is Fabrice Sapolsky. I'm your host, and this is Fame Fridays. Hit it. All right. First, let me give you an apology. I've been largely absent from the internets in the past 2 weeks. And for one reason is that I was sick. I got a flu and I went to a convention. It didn't make things better. So if you hear me coughing, that's because I'm not fully recovered yet. But anyhow, we're going to still resume our program and talk about comics and graphic novels. So the subject today could be quite simple, but I guess there's not really an answer to it. Even though people are sometimes approaching me at conventions and asking, when is it too old? Like I feel like I'm like 45. Is it too old to start a comic book career? Or I'm 20. Is it too young to start a comic book career? I guess there's not really an age. It really depends on a few factors, the one being your drive. If you want to start a comic book career first, you need to be healthy because it's a hell of a ride. It's a roller coaster. And whether you're starting as an artist or you're starting as a writer or both, because there are still people who can do both, it's still going to be a challenge. So I'm going to start by talking about me. Because that's the example that I know. And I guess it will give you perspective. See, my first professionally published comic book was Spider-Man Noir #1. And when the first issue was published, I was over 38 years old. I'm 53 now, but I was over 38. I remember an old friend who at the time was 25, saying, if I don't publish my first comic by 30, I'll never do it. And he did. He managed to do it. But then it became this kind of rule like, okay, that's my limit. That's 30 years old as my limit to publish my first comic book. And I was 38 when I started. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because it really is a matter of opportunities. I never in a million years thought that I would embrace a career as a professional comic book creator, because at the time I was a comic book journalist and I was pretty happy in my shoes. And the reality is that the minute you open the door to an idea, it becomes, I wouldn't say an obsession, but it becomes so big in your brain that there's nothing else you see yourself doing. And then you get into the process of creating, and all of a sudden you realize that, yes, that's the one thing you didn't know you wanted, but it's actually the thing you need. And it has to be a calling. It has to be passion. It has to come from there. You don't think about career. You don't think about money. You don't think about anything but to let these stories out. I often say that to people. I see a lot of creators who give up comics after a few years because it didn't take them where they wanted to go, or it was not creatively fulfilling. It was not financially rewarding. And so they would give up. But how many stories, and I'm not just saying bad stories, but how many good stories are dying in the hearts of creators? My guts say too many already, because we know that there are a lot of people with great ideas, but they don't have the drive, or they don't have the drive anymore because they've been hurt. I'm sure everyone heard that famous Jack Kirby quote, "Comics will break your heart, kid." I actually disagree. Comics don't break any heart. People in comics can. Yes, that they surely can. You will have Debbie Downers. You will have naysayers. You will have people saying you're not enough. You will have people with zero talent, with zero ability to write or draw any page, tell you that you're not good. Because everything is relative. That's why I'm a huge advocate of creator-owned comics. Because in creator-owned comics, people are not just buying your story or your idea. They're also buying a portion of you, a chunk of you. And I guess that's the thing that I want to talk about is age is, yes, nothing but a number, and it's purely irrelevant. Like, it's like when Stan Lee decided to become an actor. He was in his 80s. He didn't want to be an actor. He didn't even think he wanted to be an actor. He became an actor. He was always a showman, and he was always a good salesperson. But did he have the drive to be an actor before? No, the opportunity made the man. I guess as a young creator or an older creator, what you need is the drive. What you need is to have faith in yourself, in your idea. I wouldn't say be arrogant or think that you're better than everybody, or you could draw or write Batman better than Scott Snyder or James Tynion IV or Chip Zdarsky. But you are going to do you. And you are going to do you better than anyone else because you know you. And my advice would be to just ignore the age part. Because if you do that, you will not limit yourself. If you keep considering that comics are a youngster thing, or comics are an old people thing, you're missing the point. The point here is, how much do you have it in you to produce and put together a project that means so much to you? I remember that after I did Spider-Man, and I understood that there wouldn't be a lot of opportunities coming from that camp, I was presented with a choice. After Dave Hine and myself did the second miniseries of Spider-Man Noir called Eyes Without a Face, telephone didn't ring. I got no emails. And I was presented with my choice. Do I want to stay in comics as a creator? Do I want to go back to being a journalist and ignore the fact that I just did 2 miniseries at Marvel Comics? And I guess my answer was, I want to keep doing it because I like it. And I want to keep doing it because I got all these ideas in the process. And all of a sudden, I understand that those ideas cannot die inside of me, as I mentioned before. So I started developing a couple of projects, one of them being One Hit Wonder, which is a project that ended up being really difficult to carry on my shoulders. And if you want the full story of One Hit Wonder, I would recommend you, of course, buying the graphic novel where I explain in the foreword what happened during this project. And it was a long, long story. And I developed another project for the French market that ended up being very frustrating too. I had so many opportunities to give up. But that's the thing. You can't give up something that you're so passionate about. And no matter what the age, no matter the cost, no matter the consequences. Because at one point, and it's something that I touched upon a little bit in my previous videos, but I will keep doing it because that really is the key. When you're building your comic, you're building your legacy. You're building your name. You're building something for the future. You're building something of value. I mean, it's not as massive as building a house, but you're laying down the foundation of your house with this comic. And you can say, I did it. And I guess that's the important part. You're doing it, and you will find all the smart and not very smart ways to do it, but you will do it. And as such, again, age means nothing. Your passion is your engine. Your personality is your drive. Don't let anyone tell you you can't do it. Don't let any editor, publisher, retailer say that you're not good enough. Another example would be to talk about when Jack Kirby did the Fantastic Four. And people never realized that he was already a middle-aged man when he co-created the Fantastic Four. But I could look at all the examples, like Joe Madureira, who created Battle Chasers and was on the X-Men and Deadpool. He started his career at 16 years old. He was a kid. And then he was immediately successful, but he burnt out really fast. And as a result, his career was interrupted and he lost interest and he moved to video games where he's more happy now. What would have happened if Joe Madureira stayed in comics all this time? He would have created many other creator-owned and other things we'll never know. So when you're too young or when you're a little more seasoned, what matters is also resistance. How much resistance you get to pressure, to project. Another creator that I like to mention when it comes to comics is Howard Chaykin. Howard Chaykin has been in comics for maybe 50 years. So he's one of the elders of our industry. He's probably, and he's still relevant. As a matter of fact, my company, FairSquare Comics, co-publishes a book by Howard Chaykin with Alien Books called Sunshine Patriots. That comes out February 5th in stores. Howard is extremely relevant. He's extremely sharp, and he's in his 70s, and he keeps producing comics and graphic novels every year. His tastes have changed. His art has evolved, but he's still sharp. And it's also an example for all of us, you know? Raman Afradin, who has been a pioneer in our industry, just retired at the tender age of 97 years old. Who says you have to be young to make comics? Who have to say you have to be younger to make comics? Age doesn't matter. One thing to consider is to have a good support system. It's more important than anything, because if your family or your friends don't support you in your adventure, you're not going to go really far. You really need to have that. And that is absolutely not connected to age in any way. One more thing. Most of what I said applies mainly to writers. I mean, I was talking about Howard or Ramona, but because they're both artists and writers. But it's mostly about writers. Now, when you're an artist and you get older, of course, your hand is not as sharp as it used to. But thankfully, we have technology to help us. There are some tools in art programs like Clip Studio Paint or Photoshop that help smooth our lines so that there's no jittering. You can also do that in Procreate on the iPad. And no one will see the difference. Again, when you're making comics, what happens in the kitchen and how the sausage is made is not really important. What's important is the end result. If you're happy, if you are proud, and if you can share it with the world the way your vision started. Your vision has to be fulfilled. I guess that's one of the most important things of all this, beyond age and beyond anything else. How your vision is fulfilled is the most important thing in comics. Thank you for watching. If you like what you see, please consider giving a thumbs up and subscribe to the page, and I'll see you in the next one.